parents, this is Oluwaseun Afilake Afi from Parenting Network and Igniting Network. What are we about? We are about supporting parents to support their kids. We support teenagers. We help you support your teenagers through the 7 years of complex teenagehood to becoming an adult, to becoming an effective, productive, and outstanding adult and outstanding leader. We also support parents in the home such that there will be stability and there will be reduction to antisocial behavior. Before I go on to the topic for today, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell too, so that I can notify you every time we upload a brand new video on YouTube. This is to support you on your parenting journey. Stay tuned. So, do you think you're creating the kind of impact you wish to create? Now, going to the nitty-gritty of it in our life, I want us to talk about two aspects, morally and educationally. So those two aspects.
Well, from the moral side, obviously you don't have as much of an impact as you would like to, or don't feel sometimes you do, because not seeing a child all the time, there's not always that clear idea. However, I think that the most important thing for me, and that's what I always set out to be, is to be myself in the way I speak to my daughter and the way I am. So she will see certain morals and ethics from different sides, but she will know when, and she does respect me, that what my opinion is on a lot of different issues. And obviously then it'll be her choice when she's an adult as to whether, or when she's growing up, as to whether she will listen to that or not. Obviously it's less of a daily impact and immediate than it would be with my son, who I see all the time. So I can every day give him a little bit more of a steer. So it's easier to kind of steer him on the small things. But obviously I do see my daughter sometimes for long stretches of time. So for example, I'm going to have her for a month this summer, so it's a chance for a full immersion. Yeah, exactly. That's nice. For a full immersion of experiences, and the moral side is very important. I think the tendency for a lot of parents when they don't see their children for quite a long time is to spoil their children or let the children get away with a lot of things. I think for me, it's more important that she sees what our general normal life is like and act like a normal family, because actually what I wanted to see is normality rather than something that's an extraordinary situation. And I know sometimes that might come and bite you in the bottom, because obviously what kids think they want is all the presents and the nice things, but actually what is nice to do is have lovely experiences. And that's really what I set up to do with my daughter, is that make sure that we have great times together. So when we'll think about presents or things that we do, I'd rather choose to go on a nice holiday compared to buying a new lovely brand new bicycle or an expensive mobile phone. So that's really my view on that particular situation. Now, when it comes to educationally, I keep a tight grip in terms of that. So we talk about school in almost every conversation we have every evening, because obviously I don't see her every day to talk about school when she gets home. So and she knows that that's one of my bugbears. So we talk about it all the time. I keep her school anyway have online marks, so they publish the marks online. So generally I will go every couple of days, I'll check what marks she's got, and then we'll talk about the marks, and we'll talk about her homework. And I know it's not necessarily a conversation you want to be having on distance phone call when you're trying to establish a relationship with your daughter, but again, it's about trying to recapture some of that normality in something that is a bit of an extraordinary situation, because you don't want to be in a situation like that, but you have to act like a normal parent, because that's your role basically.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about you helping her with her English as well. Can you share that with us as well, please?
Yeah, we talk in English quite a lot, because obviously she lives in Italian, so she's being spoken in Italian. That's a way to connect with part of her heritage. But yeah, we talk about her English homework, and sometimes we do it together. I do even, I know this is quite mean, but When she comes here to England, I give her additional homework to do for maths and for English.
That's good.
And that's the way we connect. And she's always very keen to tell me when she's done really well in those two subjects particularly.
Wow. It's just unexpected. It just shows how, the relationship you have with her. And, that's just amazing. Taking time every day to speak to her about things. It shows how you desire to impact her in your own way, despite the fact that there is distance, despite the fact that you're not physically there. And I guess that with what you're doing, you said it from the beginning that you don't think there is a gap. Sometimes, people say out of sight is out of mind, but thank God for communication. Thank God for technology. It just makes things easier. So nobody has an excuse, even when they find themselves in a situation like this, not to communicate well with their children, because the children should not suffer this emotional and attack because of the parents. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we move on. So I know that you've talked about the challenges, but I just want you to reiterate and tell us what your biggest challenge is in raising your girl who is far away in Italy.
Well, it's that thing about ensuring that she has a great life. That's the biggest challenge. That is easier to work with someone you see every day and making sure you're working towards something really good, whereas someone you don't see every day, you feel that your impact is much less, and you still, but as I said, you still can do quite a lot, and sometimes you can have equal impact. But it's just about being a bit more thoughtful about what you do. So every action, every word, everything that you do with them or do for them has to be like quite well thought out. That's the most important thing. And it's so it's basically a bit, it has to be more conscious parenting. Whereas with my son, there's certain things I do that I don't ever even think about because I see him all the time. With my daughter, I have to think deeply about how to make sure that I do what's best for her. But ultimately, for me, it's not necessarily just about contact with me. What I want to make sure is that she has a great life, and that's the kind of that's the focus really more than anything else. Yeah. So making sure that we tap in all the different things and try and establish a decent relationship with my ex-partner's husband, because obviously that's important, because he, as a stepdad, is an important male role model. So it's important to do that as well.
Absolutely. So it's conscious parenting, and I always tell my parents, either your kid is far away, either you're with your partner or you're separated, there is a bit of intentional parenting. Of course, it's harder when you have your kids with your ex. So it's, you're hearing it from Bryan that it's about conscious parenting. Some things you do with the one with you just easily. You have to plan it. You have to be conscious. You have to be intentional about these things so that they feel that they still, though physically you're apart, but they feel your presence every time. Wow. I can imagine how challenging that can be, and it's also very important to boost their sense of security, their self-esteem, and their well-being emotionally and, or intellectually and otherwise, because especially in schools, they see people that have their fathers come to pick them, or they talk about their fathers and all of that. So it's also important, like Bryan said, to communicate. Yes, my dad is not with me. Yes, my mom is not with me, but I am confident that my dad loves me. I'm so confident that my mom loves me. Do you have anything to add to that, really? So what can parents do or fathers do to boost the sense of, self-esteem, well-being, and security that, though my dad is not with me, but I know that he loves me so much? What can fathers do?
Positivity, I think, is very important. Praise is very important. And just being there. I think it's about reminding yourself that eventually and that doesn't always happen, but sometimes girls do look into their partners. They look at someone's like their dad. So regardless of whether you don't think you play a role, you do play an important role in your child's life. And it might not seem it at the start, but obviously as life goes on, it gets more and more. And it doesn't always seem apparent sometimes when you're putting on the hard hours, or like for me when I'm traveling to Italy and back within a day and picking her up and having lots of delays or having long journeys and or difficult times for days you can't communicate very well, because obviously children sometimes they want to speak on media, they want to watch telly or do something different, because obviously that's the age you're in. So whereas you're like almost want your little fix of your child, but again, it's about reminding yourself that you're not number one, they're number one in a sense, and about reinforcing your own values on the child, and about remembering that you will be a role model no matter what you do, and more crucially what you don't do. You are the role model for them. You are someone they will either look up to or they'll look for in their lives, I think, later on.
So the four things that I've put down here is, remember that they are number one, you are not number one, in that sense. Remember to be positive minded, speak positive things into their lives. I am more of a spiritual person, and because I'm a Christian, so when things like this happen, even with friends and all that, all I can do is to pray and release the influence of God on their life. Be positive, give praise where it's needed, of course scold them, discipline them, and that comes back to the value that Bryan is talking about. Instill your values in them, your core values they need to know. And just one thing that I want to reiterate as well is the fact that Bryan said, for his ex, he tries to have a decent relationship with the husband, so that sometimes all this decision, does he have to do that? Maybe not necessarily, but because of the influence they will have on the child. What if they don't allow him to talk to his daughter? So sometimes we just need to be wise. It's not that we are fools, but we just need to be wise so that we get what we want. I really appreciate that having a relationship with the husband of your ex, so that you can have a better relationship with your child. I think if you're not taking anything away from this, that's a wisdom that you should take with you. Wow.
Hey.